Hi, my name is April Ford, and I am a spring 2020 Inanna author, and have the privilege of having had this beautiful book made by Inanna out of my words. I'm going to read an excerpt from Carousel, where the narrator Margot is kind of flashbacking to her younger years. She's in her mid 40s in the present of the novel, and here she's 20, and it's her first romantic experience, actually. Just 2 weeks after Estelle had pursued me from Rue Saint-Paul to Rue de la Commune to inquire about my Trilby hat, I was in love with her. We were in her semi-basement studio apartment on Tower Street, 3 blocks from where she had studied art at Cégep Dawson. Estelle spread her favorite LPs across the floor: Prince's Sign of the Times, Brian Ferry's In Your Mind, The Smiths' Strange Ways, Here We Come, and Quebec folk records my grandparents also owned. I scooped up an album featuring a somber Frenchman sitting on a bale of hay. He was playing wooden spoons against his knees, while the blue cow behind him looked onward with languorous ennui. She had white trebles and clefs painted all over her body. "You sure like some gay music," I said. Estelle huffed. "My family plays this every June 24th. You should come this year." I grinned crookedly and slapped my thighs the way I imagined people did at rural Quebec shindigs. "I'm surprised your grandparents never brought you to a Saint Jean celebration," Estelle said. "That is true Quebecois culture." She held up a compilation of The Who's greatest hits. "Absolutely not," I said. "Too bad. You only get one exchange." "I'm serious, Estelle. I don't like them. Please don't." The studio apartment grew smaller, and the aroma of Estelle's homemade marinara sauce turned putrid like cigarette smoke and urine. I wondered if I was experiencing a flashback like the sort popularized by the Purple Haze and White Lightning acid tab crowd. Estelle grew smaller too, as I floated into a space where lucid recitations of the past were as uncomplicated as the alphabet. "Bon Dieu, that's awful," she said, when I told her how I threw up all over my father's wardrobe. "What happened to Robin?" "Oh, you mean the girl? I don't know," I said. "What do you mean?" "Meaning I flew back to Saint Telesphore the next day, life went on, and I didn't see my parents for another 3 years." "But what does that have to do with the girl?" Estelle pressed. "Didn't you want to know? Don't you still want to know?" She looked as sad for Robin with the red bandana as I had felt 9 years earlier. I was amazed and touched by how she could mourn such an abstract loss, though I hoped she wouldn't turn out to be as susceptible to melancholy the way my mother was susceptible to madness. "Let's talk about something else," I said, standing to stretch my arms toward the ceiling and surreptitiously check if I needed to deodorize myself. I had sweated profusely during my flashback. I had high hopes we would make love that night. There had been plenty of kissing and dry petting between us already, but my shameful secret of being a 20-year-old virgin had driven me to say idiotic things every time Estelle tried to unzip my jeans. What if we were sexually incompatible because she had been with men? What if she got turned off when she saw my sprawling bush? What if I made too much noise or not enough? What would we say to each other after we were done? Estelle fetched a bottle of Chardonnay from the refrigerator. She poured 2 glasses and we toasted to nothing because everything in the infancy of our relationship merited a toast. "Tell me what it's like to make love to a woman," she said, lifting her glass to my mouth. "I want you to tell me what it's like so I can do it better." She sipped from her glass, fed me another sip, and we kissed, Chardonnay running down our chins. "I'm sure it's delightful," I said. "For real, Margot, why won't you tell me? Are you grossed out because I've been with men?" I loved how after just 2 weeks she had given me a nickname. It was entirely too frilly, but I didn't care. No one had ever called me anything endearing without a thread attached to it. Estelle tugged on my zipper and I backed away. She moved forward as I backed away until I fell onto the sofa and spilled my wine. She fell on top of me and poured the rest of hers into my mouth, and then she waited expectantly for me to share my secrets of lesbian lovemaking. I wanted to believe that making love to her would be as transformative for me as she believed it would be for her. "I've never done this before," I said, beginning to feel the elastic effects of the Chardonnay. "I don't know what I'm doing." "Don't worry," Estelle said, rolling up my t-shirt. "I've seen Desert Hearts." "What's that?" I asked. "Some lesbian you are." I lifted my arms and she removed my t-shirt. She lifted her arms and I removed her camisole. I stared at her breasts until she nudged me. I knew the next step, but I was mortified by how I hadn't groomed my most critical zone. I had convinced myself this was a safeguard against having sex until I was ready. My safeguard was neurotic and utterly embarrassing. I was ready. Have to warn you, I said, pressing Estelle's hand against my zipper. I didn't come prepared. Go, go, silly. We don't need protection. She sat on her ankles and regarded me as if I had just spoken Italian, but was convinced I had spoken German. I mean, if you're that worried, I can show you the results from my last doctor visit. No. I mean, just one more thing. Mm-hmm. Estelle peered down at me through her nose. There were speckles of marinara sauce under her chin. What was it like with men? Did you like it? They were boys, Estelle said. I mean, if you think about it. So do you want the cold notes or like everything? Just avoid the word penis and all of its cousins, I said. Alors, Estelle began. First there was Marc-André. He was also a virgin, and we did our best. Then there was Mathieu. I really liked him. He was that jock guy every girl thinks she wants. But in bed, I didn't like how his biceps were the size of my head. He was a totally sweet guy, but every time we had sex, I became aware of how powerless I could be in the wrong situation. Then there was Sébastien. And he dumped me 1 year after I moved to Montreal. That dick. Not really. He saw it before I did. This boho will never be a farmer's wife. Now, stay right where you are. Estelle went to her bag, but 10 feet across from the sofa, and gathered her down comforter. She caped it around herself and swooped back to me, and for the rest of the night, shrouded in goose feathers and each other, we made love. Thank you.